approached you was because, you know, I saw some of the content on Mark's website, you know, the One Great Network thing. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I actually seem like I would click with I and this chick seem like we would click well together, you know, and why not do a podcast together? You know, I mean, for example, I've been, you know, do my own content and stuff. But when it comes to making videos, I find that if I talk on my lonesome, which is, I kind of need to word I kind of need to word my thoughts in words, and without any kind of, I don't think in words. I think in imagery and stuff beyond imagery. So putting stuff in words for other people to digest is kind of like,
yeah. Yeah, and I'm very wordy. I like words, but
yeah, no,
I also like a lot of imagery as well.
yeah. So in that sense, when I make videos on my lonesome, it's kind of I have no distraction. My mind is my mind is always in infinity, so to speak. So is everyone's, but I mean I'm aware of it. But when I speak on my lonesome, I kind of tend to go up on tangents a lot and so on and so forth and stuff that makes sense to me.
That's what I do, and I actually have notes, and I go off the fucking rails. It's like all of a sudden I realize, oh shit, I didn't mention one fucking thing in front of me. I just like, woo, went off on my own little, you know, sort of tangent. And I'm okay with it. I used to be very stressed out about it to stay on point. I don't give a shit. Fuck it.
No, it's a beautiful thing, and it's important to not give a shit about trivial stuff, you know. But I do also want to make sort of lecture-y sort of things, so something like presentations, and you know. So when talking about ranty stuff, when talking about general stuff, it's very good to go off on tangent because that's creative. That actually invites conversation and all this stuff, plus self-expression.
Right. So where are you? Where are you on the planet?
Romania.
You're where?
In Romania. That's kind
in
of
Romania. Okay.
Yeah, the whole point of trying to make a podcast with you was because I wanted to, have this sort of a cross-promotional thing, and also try to, you know, when I talk to someone, like for example, if I'm talking to you, I have a bit of a distraction to formulate my words in a more precise fashion, you know. So that's kind of a thing, because I'm actually talking to a human as opposed to talking to an entity, which is not verbal communication. So,
I know, like talking to the iPhone, which is what I fucking do. I talk to my iPhone. It's like,
no. I meant actual, you know.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Entities in the sense of Alexa. That's not a fucking entity. That's an AI. I suppose you could call it an entity, but it's not really an actual thing. It's a
yeah. And I have an old one, so I don't have one of those new things that can do all the fancy shit. In fact, I was turned down. Everybody wants me to download all these apps so that we can do things. I can't do it because my phone isn't on the high end of things, and so all of my operating systems are like generations before. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to spend $1,200 on a fucking phone. Give me a break. It's not going to happen.
To buy one the next few months when the next generation comes along with the new Alexa 2.0 and all that and all that shit.
Yes.
So
crazy.
So are you up for doing a bi-monthly or weekly podcast?
I'm up for doing a bi-monthly. I'm actually quite busy, but my monthly, like twice a month, would be great. That sounds like fun, actually. You know, and I like your delivery. It's like kind of in your face, thespian meets shit disturber meets anarchist meets, you know, fuck you. It's good.
Yeah. By the way, you're probably not. That's probably a genuine attempt at a compliment, which I appreciate, but I don't care about in the sense that I.
Yeah.
But what I meant to say is that don't flatter or pander. You know,
no, I am not pandering.
Yeah, that's good then. But never pander to anyone for any fucking reason. Anyway, so yeah. With regards to how I think it would be a good idea to go about it is like beforehand we would do a sort of, hey, let's talk about some different topics that we want to explore, and then during the podcast we make up different points and we ask ourselves different questions, and you know, that's kind of basically the gist of it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything particular that you're like really burning about? Like I know,
Freedom,
I can,
freedom. That's the main fucking thing.
yes.
You know, that's the main fucking thing that I'm burning about, which is
Okay.
I'm burning about myself because we are infinite freedom always. So anyway, so yeah, that is essentially that's fucking freedom is everything in essence. I'm not talking about just you know, social freedom. I'm talking about the spiritual concept of freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about
Right.
you? What are you burning about?
Well,
You
know, my main thing is really upgrading the way we relate to one another, especially the internal masculine feminine dialogue, because I see the danger that we are in terms of, you know, just the world at large and the matrix of dividing us more into these fucking genders. Like I was barred from speaking in Toronto because I wouldn't sign a paper saying that I was going to be in compliance with this compelled speech of the, I think there were 92 or 94 pronouns for genders.
Yeah, I know that.
And I was like this, like, what? I'm not signing this paper. I don't believe in compelled speech. Fuck off. And they go, well, you're going to have to leave. So they asked me to leave. I didn't get to speak. So I went to Toronto, rented a hotel, did all the shit for nothing. And I couldn't speak because I wouldn't sign the paper. It's like, yeah, I'm not signing. I don't care. So, all right.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Exactly. Can't make me do shit. Okay, good. I won't speak.
And besides, although it would have still been good to kind of give that information to other people, but at the same time, the people who attend those kind of conventions where they make you sign that piece of shit, I mean, what kind of, would those kind of people actually be interested in that kind of information? So I'm like, in a sense.
Oh, they would probably lynch me because, and that's the misunderstanding of the integration of the masculine and feminine, is that they think that I'm giving a pass to the patriarchy and the matriarchy. I am not. I'm just asking people to look within themselves and see where they're emasculating their own masculine and or over feminizing their own masculine, or turning their feminine into some, you know, man-hating twat, you know. So it's like you have to have that awareness, because if you don't have that awareness within, you're going to project that out into the world.
Yeah, by the way, have you ever been in any one of those extremes, by the way?
In what extremes as far as
in, have you ever been overly effeminate or overly
I'm very good at being in my masculine. So I have a history of like really attracting a lot of men who are not in their power, who are looking for mommy and daddy. And you know,
cucks, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. But I've also had to learn that I have to in order to attract a partner of my equal, I have to take down the masculine within me and allow my feminine to be in charge. Because if the masculine is in charge, I will create a balance of energy and attract a man who's less masculine than my masculine, rather than more masculine than my masculine, in which we would have a fight.
At the same time, I would say that, by the way, I took off the headphones because I realized that they're not really working and my sound is coming from the speaker. So there's no echo on your end because it's coming from the speaker. There isn't any echo, right?
No echo, no.
Oh, okay. So what I would suggest is, instead of downplaying your masculine, I would say keep it at a high level, but bring your feminine up as well.
Yes. And that has been working. It's been working to a very, very good degree, you know. And I know for me, I'm older, so it's a time for me to actually open to the possibility of me having my own life, rather than continuing with the devotion of my life to that of service. And so it's like, for the first time in the last year in my life, I'm actually considering what it is that I want as a woman on a personal level, which is it's a whole new can of craziness, because it's like, what?
And this may appear condescending, but it's not condescending. But I am honest, so I express myself however the fuck I feel like. No matter what you say, I don't give a shit if you blow up. So you realize this just now at 60 years old, or somewhere?
Yes. You know why? Because I spent 3.5 decades raising other people's children and raising men, because I was in my masculine and I attracted many, many weak men. They were very talented, but they were not actualized. You know, they didn't have to be actualized. I did everything. I made the money. I had the house. I took care of everything, you know, being Superwoman. So yes, I am just discovering that. And I think that's part of the hijacking, I think, of the feminine essence in women, is that a lot of women are brainwashed into believing that, number one, and I was raised by a man hater. And so I was raised to like really believe that men are pussies. They don't have their shit together. You can't depend on them. And if you do depend on them, you're going to be in trouble because they're going to let you down. And they're only after one thing. I mean, on and 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 on. And so I grew up in that, along with all of the incest and sex abuse and all of that.
What do you mean the sex abuse? Do detail if you want to detail that.
Okay, well, I was sexually abused from the moment I probably was maybe a month old. I've had actual cousins confess to jerking off on my face when I was in a crib. Oh yeah. So this opened me to the focus of my work over the last 34 years, which is working with survivors of trafficking, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse. I mean, we're talking the darkest of the dark of human atrocities upon other humans. So that has been my work. And so my trigger points have been about the abuse of children, which is why I've spent so much time of my life, not just working there, but also providing for other people's kids. I didn't have any of my own, because I wanted them to have some sort of stability, if that makes sense. You know, so I'm not a researcher per se. I'm on the front lines. I'm actually working with people who are suffering from this. You know, I'm not reading about it and upchucking it like a lot of people are. I've actually been doing the work, and I've traveled all over the world.
First-hand information is pretty much one of the better kinds of information, as opposed to just reading on it. So technically, you want to research it.
Yes.
You know?
No, that's very true. That's very true. It's like, so life has basically directed me in the various directions and offshoots of my life.
You have directed your life in such a way that it directed your character. So yeah, I'm talking about more how we create our own reality.
Yeah.
So it's not that life directs you, you direct life, and then your character learns from how you direct your life if you do not consciously have access to your spirit in a more direct fashion.
Well, the circumstances, definitely. I mean, as a child, you know, I had the awareness that something was off. Something was terribly, terribly off, because there was my life, and then I would witness the lives of the kids that were around when I was growing up. So, you know, it's like, wow, these people actually talk to each other. There are no forks. I'm not being threatened by a knife, you know, because my mom is in a bad mood or something like that. You know, there's none of that stuff going on. So there was definitely this sort of split reality of there's my life and my house and other people's houses.
But you were also smart enough to realize that difference, you know, because some kids may be too traumatized to make that realization, you know. So
yeah, and I was traumatized, definitely traumatized, but I also had a very strong sense of self. I believed in magic, I believed in fairies, I believed in the light beings, and so I went into that realm. You know, that was my realm, and so I learned how to sort of scoot in and out of these different realities. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I was delusional, but it saved my
No,
life.
it wasn't a delusion. It wasn't a delusion. Although, do be mindful that there is such a thing as implanted memories. So make the difference between actual
Yeah, these
memories.
are not implanted memories. I have
How
actual
would you make the difference,
scars.
Mexican? How would you make the difference between implanted memories and your own actual memories, be it of this life or other lives or
I
whatever?
have actual physical evidence on my body, like broken bones that are verifiable and scars from cuts that I remember receiving. I mean, you can't make that shit up. And I really believe that implanted memories, I think that is a hijacking of the psychological community to actually downplay the infiltration of psychopathic monsters that are in charge of children, honestly. And I've seen
Yeah,
enough of it where, you know, in the American court system, that there is that. And these monsters are set free.
yeah.
So I just have an opinion about that. Um, so it is what it is.
Yeah, but there is such a thing as people saying, "Oh no, that's an implanted memory. It didn't actually happen." But at the same time, it is important to note that there are technologies and choices that you make in life where you invite different beings or different parasites to inject different memories in your life. Or stuff like you. This may not necessarily be your case now, but you can lie to yourself where you literally create a parallel reality and then you get the memories from that reality, but those events didn't actually happen in this one, even though the physical um, evidence, as in you getting
Yeah, I don't really go down those pathways because I work with people who are really endeavoring. They have made up their minds that they have chosen to live, and they've chosen to move out of that victim consciousness paradigm and move into a realm where they can actually activate their creativity and move beyond all of that. But the work to unravel that trauma-based mind control, it's extensive. It isn't a one-off event like a lot of, I've met up with quite a number of new age bullshit artists that say, oh yeah, I can clear that like that. No, fuck off. No, you
I
can't.
would I would say two things with regards to that, because technically everything is always a choice, and so therefore, if we do choose to make it instantaneously, it does happen like that. I mean, I have healed myself instantaneously.
I've never honestly seen that with the kind of trauma-based mind control that I'm talking about, like the satanic ritual abuse. I've never seen that, you know?
Yeah, well, that was your experience and so on. But in my experience, I'm the only person that I know to have done this. I'm not blowing my horn like, oh, look at me, I'm so special, because everyone can do this. But technically, I have healed myself. I have levitated. I have teleported. Not on a whim, but more on a spiritual choice, but something that the character was like, oh, okay, I'm doing this now. And then when my brain realized that, oh wait, I'm floating now, then I fell to the floor. But anyway, but at the same time, it is pertinent to note, that new age bullshitters who don't know that it can actually happen instantaneously, they just use it as a form of escapism, or as a form of, oh, I can do this shit whenever I fucking want, just as a means of, kind of not bothering with it because it's painful, and they kind of just want to run away from
Yeah.
the pain.
Well,
No, it
I'm
does involve
I'm
following.
referring to people who can barely function, um, because they've had either generations of being chained to a bed and drugged and trafficked. So I'm not talking about people who are this is the work that I'm talking about is working with people who have experienced egregious abuse. So that's a big difference, because I know for a fact that if my audience heard some of the things that you just said, they would be totally offended, and that would be their right. I mean, I'm not offended by it because I get that shit all the time. But what I'm saying is that there is this very marked difference between what I'm talking about and what you're talking about. And so I think we just need to be clear about that.
No,
Um,
what I'm saying that it can be done instantly, I'm talking about it in the sense of the potential and the soul choice, because soul creates through ourselves, the soul will create
Sure, I
reality, and
I I get that. I get that. But I'm also talking about, the sort of for
statistically,
intensive
what I'm
practice.
I know that statistically it doesn't really happen all that often. What I'm saying is that it can happen when the soul actually chooses for it to happen. You know, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes. And that is very true, because I know with the people that I've worked with who have made successes out of their lives after having all of this background and unraveling the trauma-based mind control, that it is a choice for them. You know, it is a choice to move from victim to victorious, and to move from that headspace or that mindset of what I call weaponized woundology, where you're just gonna like
Weaponized
go
what?
on and on and on and on and on about it and keep repeating
Weaponized
it.
what? Weaponized what?
Weaponized woundology.
Ah,
That is
woundology.
so weaponized woundology is it's one of my terms, but what it is, it essentially is the trap where you talk about your trauma again and again and again. And this is
Yeah,
my
yeah, and
problem with a lot of the
you repeat the
psychological
cycle over
models.
instead of overcome.
Yeah, is that you so my clients, my clients, my students, they get to tell their story in totality once, and then they have to shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. We're going to learn about reality creation. We're going to learn about what it is that you want to create and get very clear on that. And they learn reality creation, because that is really the only way they're able to exit the matrix of all that mind control and move forward.
Yeah, because if they just continue repeating the same story over and over and over again because they want some compassion, that's just clinging. It doesn't really fucking help them in any way. It just
No,
makes them...
no. It just reactivates again and again and again. And then what you're actually doing, you're actually re-engaging the trauma such that you're actually calling back all the demons that you just released and feeding them once again. And they're back in control.
Unless you're looking to confront them and overcome them, you know, that's a different story. If you confront them like you know, with courage, and you're like, hey, I want to...
Well, confronting them once is a good thing, but to keep talking about it is what I'm talking about, is that you reactivate and you reinvite them in. And some people want to be friends with them, like you know, it's like, no, dude, you don't, you can't be friends with a lower astral plane entity and expect your life to go well, because your frequency will downstep to meet them. So you can't have a conversation with them. They are not, you can't talk to a psycho like a normal human being. You can't do it. It's not going to happen. And so I know quite a number of folks that have, like, you know, gone in and out of that loop only to like figure it out years down, like, oh shit, I really can't do that. I can't.
By the way, have you spoken with people who have been abused in psychiatric asylums or hospitals? That
yes,
kind of became
yes, that is actually quite prevalent. Yeah, it's another demon fest, really. I mean, those hospitals are filled with narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, and demons and entities and lower astral plane entities that have taken over. And, you know, and then of course there's the pharmaceutical end of it, which opens more portals for these demons and entities to flood in and take over and have parties, basically. I mean, that's kind of what it is. And it's very sad. It's very sad.
Have basically the opposite effect of what their name presumes. So,
yeah.
So by the way, how do you make the difference between what is your ego goading you and what is an actual demonic entity or whatever?
I really don't make the distinction.
Well then how would you know when to assume responsibility for your own self-doubt and something?
Well, I just assume responsibility for everything that I do and don't do.
That was a trick question. I wanted to see what to respond.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the psychological models for me have been not so much problematic. I just don't buy into them. You know, I have a simple thing. I had this longtime boyfriend who was very, very, very sensitive soul. He's not here with us anymore. But he was Polish. He was Polish, and Pavel would say, there's what you do and what you don't do. That's it. And I really like that model because it simplifies things. And at the end of any day, you have to choose to take responsibility. Or if you don't choose to take responsibility, you are a victim of everything. And so it really is
responsibility, by the way.
it's a personal choice. I mean, you were talking about it earlier, the personal choice of taking responsibility.
Yeah, because technically demons don't actually come to you unless you actually invite them in some way, shape, or form. So it's still your responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And raising your frequency is key. And you can't raise your frequency unless you really take stock of your life and you start practicing, maintaining boundaries with, and knowing the difference between a high level person and a low level person. You know, I mean, that's part of what I teach in my trainings, is how to become a high level human being, a high quality, high level human being, a high quality man, a high quality woman. And it's taking responsibility.
How exactly do you teach how exactly do you teach this to other people? Because technically this is stuff that I find just so fucking casual, and I've always pretty much fucking done it. And when it comes to teaching,
but a lot of people are not like you. They're not like you or like me.
I already knew that, but in 2020 it was like, yeah, you get the point.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, you look at this mass corralling of 7/19, and like it just shocks me, the sort of oh boy, I didn't even, this mass consciousness shit show that people have like fallen under the spell and they don't even question it. Like I find it just shocking, you know, and so for me, I gotta like really watch myself, you know, especially where I am, because like I live in the Southwest, in the mountains at 7,000 feet elevation. There's hardly anybody here. I walk out early in the morning, the sun isn't even out, I'm alone, and then I have these jackasses, you know, in their trucks with a fucking mask on, getting out of their trucks, coming after me, scaring the shit out of me. And you know, I've got a cattle prod. It's like, yeah, bring it on, man, because I will shock your ass if you come anywhere near me. And it's just like, it's mind-boggling to me, you know. It's like, wow. And people are just so afraid. They're so afraid. But that's the sort of fodder of the sleeping human zombies within the Matrix, is that they don't realize that if you don't take responsibility and you stay in the Matrix, you are a slave of the Matrix, and you are subject to every script, every mind control program, every this and that you identify with, and they don't even know it. They don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, and technically, I would say to you that don't watch yourself either. Just be honest in everything that you do, and then you will experience everything that you.
Yeah. Well, what I say about that is, I know for me, one of my biggest lessons. I'm a reality transurfer. I don't know if you know anything about reality transurfing. So, a lot of it is about your own energy mastery. That. And the bottom line is, everything within the Matrix and out of the Matrix has every right to exist. That includes the pedophiles. It includes the Satanists. It includes every fucking asshole you think is an asshole and deserves to be in a woodcutter. Okay, they have every right to exist, which means you can out this shit, but you can't push up against it, because if you understand energy, anything that you apply uber importance to, or you push up against it, you try to destroy it, what you're doing is you're actually incurring excess potential energies and balancing forces that will come wreck your shit.
That's one of the things that I disagree with you in the sense that, yeah, I know it does
happen. I don't disagree with it. I've had it happen to me so many times because I pushed up.
I know it happens, but that has to be confronted. That has to be confronted. Excess energy.
How do you confront the excess potentials when you've brought it on yourself? That's my whole point.
Yeah, you know the principle of Wing Chun, the martial arts.
Yes.
Where you sort of an energy comes your way and then you weave it through and then flip.
Yes. But that is a skill where you're utilizing the energy of the excess potential, but most people don't even know about the basics of energy, let alone being able to wield the energy that they are incurring in order to stop a negative flow that's coming back at them. Yeah, but that's the boomerang effect that I am talking about.
Yeah, but then isn't it a better effect, instead of advising people to not incur the excess energies, instead teach them how to better utilize them? I mean, that's kind of like
what I teach people is how to lower the importance, and no matter what happens, to find the benefit and the advantage of it. In other words, by understanding that everybody has a right. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean you have to push up against it. Just notice that you don't like it, you don't agree with it, and rather than focusing in on it, doing that kind of thing, step back and focus in on what you want to do. This is called staying in your own lane.
That is obviously a good thing and should be one of the main things, but if the bullshit comes your way, it is your right to retaliate, you know?
Yes.
Like you do with the cattle prod thing. Like you just said, you are pushing against them when they come to you.
Well, I am defending myself.
Yeah, that's
I'm activating the divine masculine principle of self-defense. If somebody is threatening me, I will act accordingly. I'm not a pacifist in that sense. I'm a pacifist, but if you fuck with my shit, I have no qualms. You know, I have 3 black belts. I have no qualms doing that kind of stuff.
Again, this may be semantics, but then you're not a pacifist. You are a peace lover. There's a
yes. I am a peace lover. You know, I believe in the principle of doing no harm, which is the divine feminine principle. But if somebody is going to threaten me, I will defend myself.
Fuck up their shit.
Yep.
By the way, I really like your nose ring. I just feel like saying.
Oh, thank you. It is platinum. It's been there for decades.
You never took it off?
Do I ever take it off? No, never.
Huh. I mean, that's kind of like how I never take off my golden thing that I wore since the age of 7.
Nice. What is it? What is it? It's a gold chain.
It's a golden ring that my mom gave me when I was about 7 or something, and it and I lost the cross and I kept the chain. And I'm like, you know, if I take it off, I took it off about several years ago, and I just kind of felt like I lost a limb or something. You know, it's kind of like, that's. Why is it? You know, you wear something for a long time, it kind of seems like it becomes part of your body, and then when you're without it, you're like, I just lost the limb now. It's kind of
it's funny. I have this ring too. This ring, I never take it off. I've probably been wearing it since I first got it from actually a good friend of mine who made it. She's a jewelry maker. Does these one of a kind pieces. I just love her, but I have people go, do you think she'll make one for me? And I go, no, because Kia would tell you that would be called work. She wouldn't do it. You know, so, I have like these really, really delightful people in my life that are just precious, that, you know, that they stay in their own lane. They're very, very creative, very, very actualized, stay out of the world dramas, you know. Yeah.
What sort of staying out of the world dramas?
Well, I think that's really just kind of like focusing in on your creativity, and nurturing that, and not getting embroiled in the outer screen of what I call the matrix shit shows. You know, not getting involved.
in the sense that they ignore it, or in the sense that they are interested in the information, but they're not affected by it?
They're not affected by it because what they do, they're reality creators. So they don't push up against it. They notice it. They don't like it, but they also understand the whole thing about balancing forces. And rather than focusing in on it and adding to the energy of, ain't it awful and it's fucked up and we got to do something, they go into their own thing.
I wanted to add to that. You are, by the information that you're sharing, by helping people and so on, so what you are pushing up against it. I mean, that is what you're doing is rebellion.
Well, I'm doing it in a way where I am inviting people to notice the stuff that they don't like, notice the stuff that really upsets them, and to elevate their energy, to refocus and compose the upcoming screen of reality in their universe.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, yeah,
because that's the only way we're gonna exit the matrix, is if all of us do that, and we are populating the true quantum field universe that is not subject to the rules and regulations and programs and prefabricated scripts within the matrix that have gone on for millennia upon millennia upon millennia, and it has enslaved humanity into thinking that this is what they're gonna do. They're just gonna repeat it lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. That's just my belief.
Yeah, it's not really a belief. I mean, if it's based on ignorance, then it's a belief. In your case, I would say it's more of something that it's either a logical conclusion or something that you feel. So it's not a belief then.
It's what I feel. It's what I feel, and it's what I live for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
it allows me to enjoy. Allows me to enjoy, and to.
What advice would you give me, for example, if I were to say that I have significant murderous tendencies because I have been a massive fucking sociopath in my life. And technically, whenever I see someone wearing a bullshit face I put on, especially if they're putting it on their fucking kids, I literally feel like it's not just a tendency, it's an urge. I feel the urge to fucking murder them right then and there. I mean, without giving a shit if I'm going to be caught or not. And so I never give a shit about that. So that's kind of why I'm not going out all that much. And to murder people. How the fuck do I get over that? Even though I already know the answer, but maybe hearing it from someone else, maybe it's gonna.
Well, I can kind of relate to that. I can kind of relate to it. One of the things that I found helpful was like really playing out the worst case scenario. So I wrote a lot of stories where I indulged that dark kernel.
Yeah, I know. I do that
daily of myself,
but it doesn't really. In my case, I'm just.
But see, I give it 15 minutes. That's what I do. I put a timer on it, and then I take that piece of paper and I burn it, and it has actually helped me to excavate that, because for me it was incessant. For many, many years when I was younger, I was really embroiled in revenge. I wanted vengeance. I wanted revenge.
No, it's not vengeance or revenge in my case in terms of the motivation. It's more like I really consider them. I mean, again, everyone can evolve, so this is not really a set thing. If the dead can rise themselves beyond the grave, if you get my meaning, if they so choose. But the thing is, I see them as dead things that try to make other things dead as they are. And I'm like, what would the problem be in killing something that's already dead? And so I realize that this is the mindset of the psychopaths, basically, even though the psychopaths don't realize that they're already dead also. But in my ego mind, I try to rationalize it like, oh, I'm trying to help them reincarnate in a better life or some shit or whatever else. And so I'll give myself all of these.
Okay. So when you invoke natural law, then to that, I mean, would you invoke natural law and like really kind of check yourself about
I invoke myself. I do not invoke anything but myself, not myself in the sense of myself as an ego.
Okay, so what's your answer to that query?
Uh, it's not a good thing. It doesn't help anyone grow. It doesn't help me grow. Doesn't help them grow, and so on. And that's basically that. Plus, the thing with, I don't like to call it natural law because law has the inclinations that it has, like it's an obligation or some shit. I would call them natural principles. Principles sounds much closer to the essence.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm like, morality is a thing that is a thing. Morality is a thing. It's a part of nature and so on. But at the same time, similar to how again, this is not really the best kind of analogy, but if we were to compare reality to a computer game, the quantum thing, the natural principles, and these are basically the game code of the video game. We are the creators and the players of the video game code. So technically, you can have a video game that is, basically in its more limited. You were drunk, or you weren't really in the mood when you made it, and it's kind of a shitty game. The natural principles or the natural law of that particular reality is going to be shit, because that's how you created it at that particular point. Then a mediocre reality is going to have mediocre principles, and a reality such as ours, which is more refined and therefore has principles that are more in tune, so to speak, with the more good aspects of ourselves as infinite consciousness. It's going to have good principles like self-defense and non-aggression and all this sort of stuff. So what I would say is that instead of doing like, natural self-defense and natural principles because natural principles, I would be like, no, that's trying to say that the video game code is good just because it's the video game code of the reality. If you were to then move yourself to a lesser reality without realizing it, you would still make up the same excuse for the shitty principles of that reality instead of evolving yourself beyond it. So, it's kind of like do the good thing because it's the good thing, not because that's how the reality you are accustomed with is. It's similar, but in a more complex.
So how does a psychopath do that?
What would a psychopath do? What?
How does a psychopath do the good thing?
No, they don't. I never said
they
that.
don't. Okay.
That's the good thing. I never said that.
I'm asking. I didn't say you said it. I'm asking.
No, the parasites don't actually do good in terms of their motivation, But at the same time, similar to how the villain in a story that you write, like say, for example, I write novels and so on. So technically, the whole point of a villain in the story is to help the main character, the good character, grow. That's the point. I mean, the villain in context is a piece of shit. The piece of shit does have its purpose in terms of helping the main character see why the piece of shit is a piece of shit, and then overcome it, and then have the happy ending and move on to better things, and so on and so forth. So
you write novels?
Yeah. None of them published in the sense of an actual.
What's your thing? Tell me a little bit about your life.
About my
how old are you? What's your thing? What was that?
How old do you think I am? I said.
I have no idea. I'm not good with that kind of stuff.
Now I'm basically 31 recently, and I don't know where the fuck to start in terms of. If you want, ask me some questions, and then I'll answer that. But in terms of starting out somewhere in particular, I don't like to talk about myself in that sort of look at me and my life sort of thing. I like to talk about ideas more. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
all right.
Ask me.
Okay. So you write? Do you play music?
I write, I paint, I play music, and I write a blog about freedom and stuff, and so on and so forth.
Okay, nice. What instruments do you play? And
the piano, okay. And I used to play my voice, but now my voice is kind of fucked up because I screamed a lot. So that's the thing.
Cool. Yeah, I play the piano as well.
Ah, nice. How good are you?
I've been playing for years and years and years. I have when my first set of stepkids moved out of the house, I got kind of depressed. And so I got rid of the dining room table and I bought a grand piano. to
As
put
in,
in the dining room table. And I
like
still have it.
as in one with the chords or an electrical grand piano?
The real deal, the big guy, the big guy. I found it in an old junkyard. And it was, this is a very interesting story because I was living in California, in San Francisco, and I was driving back and there was traffic and there was a little voice going, you know what, you need to get the fuck off the road. And I'm like going, I don't know where I am. This doesn't look, and it was raining, pouring down rain. So I get off the road and I swear to God, there's a little dot in front of me. And this dot is like, just kind of like, beckoning me to follow it. I go, oh, you want me to follow you? Okay. So I'm following, I'm driving. I can barely see because it's raining so hard. And I end up being in this junkyard and they're open. I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Oh my God, like what's happening? So I go in and here's the dot. The dot is like bouncing around and this old dude comes in and he goes, can I help you? And I go, I'm not quite sure. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm just following something. He goes, whatever. he's thinking I'm fucking insane. So I go, and it's not very clean. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Like, I ran into some like really intense, dirty, sharp metal objects. And I'm thinking, I'm going to skewer myself. I'm going to stab myself if I don't watch it. So I notice I'm going, where's the dot? Where's the dot? So I see it. And it's like way over in this corner. So I walk over there and there's a tarp. And I'm going, what is underneath this tarp? So I pull it. I had to move a bunch of things to pull it. And the guy's going, what are you doing back there? And I'm going, oh, I'm just taking off a tarp. He goes, yeah, make yourself at home, And he said, did you see the signs? And I'm looking at the signs and there's all these liability signs. We are not responsible if you hurt yourself, but if you break shit, you buy it. It's kind of like that. So I pull the tarp off and it is this mahogany grand piano. And I'm like, holy shit, and it's kind of fucked up. It's really fucked up. And I just said, how much for the piano? The guy goes, $500. And I'm like going, okay. So I buy the piano. I put in another $5,000 to have it fixed.
That's
yeah. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's a baby grand. So it's a 5.5 feet, 5 feet 3. So it's not one of those 10-foot concert Bosendorfers that is, that I would prefer.
It's not one of those things that sticks to the wall either, right?
No, it's not an upright. And it opens and she's beautiful. So I had her refurbished. She's not liking it here on the Southwest. It's either too hot or too cold and very, very dry here. So the relative humidity is in single digits. And so unless during the summer when it's really hot, I have what's called an evaporative cooler, which runs through water that raises the relative humidity in the house. So yeah, so that's cool. That's cool. Do you play classical, your own thing, rock and roll, jazz?
I basically play, my whole thing, how I feel intuitively whenever the fuck it is that I feel
Nice.
like. Well, having taken some basic online courses to, get my finger instincts, how to, stretch my arms and all this sort of stuff. But other than that, yeah, I play whatever the fuck I feel like. And
nice.
Sometimes when I feel like recording it and I look it back, I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty fucking cool, I mean, it's not Mozart level yet, but it is pretty fucking cool.
Sweet. Nice.
I could technically make an album, but if you were to ask me to reproduce any of the pieces, I'm like, no, not gonna fucking happen because it's a one-time thing when I feel like doing it in a particular fashion.
Yeah. So tell me about your paintings.
Now I basically draw hentai, if you know what hentai is.
No.
Basically, drawn porn, basically, of my own characters or of characters from TV shows or something of the sort. I'm a very sexual guy and I like drawing porn stuff, you know. But not
Aha.
for the porn itself. I make stories. I make stories with cool fucking conscious characters and spread messages of freedom through the art of pornography.
Okay, I would love to see that because I think that is one of the that's one of the facets I think within the matrix that can use an upgrade in terms of content and teaching and
Yeah,
just frequency vibration. Let's raise
yeah,
it up.
yeah, no, because technically, I've seen. I mean, I'm seeing a particular duality in terms of sexuality. You know, there are people who are obsessed with sex. Oh, sex all the time. Oh, nothing else. Maybe not to this extreme, but generally speaking, you get the idea. And then
Yeah.
other people who are like, oh no, sex is bad, and all that sort of bullshit. I'm like, no, it's a good fucking thing. It's an aspect of your own fucking biology and your
Yes.
own
Yes.
spirituality as well.
And in the matrix, sexuality, unfortunately, is the lowest common denominator that the demons have hijacked, that they feed off of. So part of my work with the survivors of trafficking, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse, cult abuse, is really not just deactivating the trauma-based mind control and all of the physical sexual abuse, but also to establish a very, very healthy, potent, and vibrant connection to sexuality and raising the frequency to that of it to its true divine origins and intention. So so I feel you. So good for you.
Yeah, and by the way, as a bit of an interjection, you said you would be off in about. I definitely want to continue the conversation, but
Yes, I have 10 more minutes.
Mhm.
I have
Okay,
about 10 more minutes.
Now, if you want to prepare for the meeting or have a break or whatever, yeah, let's end it here and we'll talk. Whenever we feel like making the. By the way, so
Yeah.
what days are you available in? Let's say Tuesday at the same hour. Next Tuesday
Uh,
at the same hour.
yeah, actually, that probably is good because I have a break. Um, so I have morning, and then I have my uploads and my marketing, and then I have another client, and then I have a break at this time. So that would be like actually really good.
So Tuesday at the same hour. For
Yeah.
me, that's like 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Does that work for you? Are you because I don't know.
I'm very hectic in terms of my. Well, I don't have a schedule. I do whatever the fuck whenever I feel
I
like.
see. Okay. Yeah. I kind of don't have a schedule, but I do have a schedule and I do whatever the fuck I want. So
That's good.
so there's some days where I start with my clients at like 4 o'clock in the morning, because they're midday, either in the UK or wherever they are in Europe. So, it is what it is. Thank God for understanding time frames and that kind of thing. So, okay, that works. That works.
Thank ourselves and whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, I see you next time. And to give a sort of a pointer, next time, let's say maybe we'll talk in emails during this today.
Okay.
And let's come up by next time with a particular topic to talk about, and then next time we make a sort of a demo recording and see if that would work as a podcast.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds very good.
Okay, so I'll see you in messages and then next time at the same time.
All right, darling. All right.
Okay.
All right. So are you George? Georg? No, George?
George.
Okay. Okay.
That sounded like shit, Georg. What the fuck?
Georg. I have a friend named Georg who spells it the same way. He's in Germany, so Georg. Georg. Oh Lord.
No, I have a bit of an aversion towards that sound
I
because
see.
I'm significantly straight, and I'm like,
Okay, yeah. Well, you know, and my name gets butchered all the time. So Marja, Marja.
Go ahead and butcher my name however the fuck you feel like. You know, wasn't the point. I was just expressing my reaction to the sound.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, George.
I'll see you next time. And remember, we are all and always free and free always.
Yes. Yes.
All
right, sweetheart. Okay. Mwah. Ciao.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.